Hey, folks. Episode 25. I am so stoked.
Me too.
Good. Maybe because we had to try to schedule this 3 times to get you here.
Right.
But now that you're here, and now that we've been talking a little bit, I'm stoked.
Yeah. It'll
Karen,
be good.
Karen Shannon, say hello.
Hey guys. Nice to finally be here. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's good, Josh. You should say what up too.
Well, what's happening?
Right. No Isaac to my right, no Lindsay behind the computer. So my friend Josh, producer Josh,
Yeah.
getting promoted and
Self-proclaimed.
yeah. This is gonna be fun for sure. It's gonna be fun. Karen Shannon,
I know.
what's up? How's your day?
It's been busy. But that's life and it's been good.
You're wearing
Beautiful
your
weather out.
so good.
Yeah.
So good. Spring has sprung,
For sure.
which means there's probably like a winter storm just looming
Oh,
mid-April or like May, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Had my dog out for a walk this morning and Olivia's like, I think it's here. She was looking at the weather and it's like 55, 60 throughout the next week. And I said, Olivia, there have been times that there's been snow in May. No. Yeah, well, we are in Iowa.
Right.
Happens.
She's going to have like a track meet and it's going to be 70 and
Mhm.
perfect. And then the next one's going to be snowed out.
Yeah. Wind. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You've got your Kiwanian shirt on right there.
Yeah. I just came from the chicken dinner fundraiser that Kiwanis has every year. So yeah, I just helped there for a little while and scooted down the road to come and visit with you guys.
Is that the big like Kiwanis fundraiser for the year? Is the annual chicken dinner or?
It's one of them. I'm relatively new to Kiwanis, just the last 6 months or so. So we had the pancake breakfast earlier this year that I helped with, but I think those are our two main fundraisers. So yeah, one of two for the year that I know of, anyway.
So, gosh, this is something I probably should know. I should be able to recite myself by memory. But what is the mission, or where does the Kiwanian money go towards? Is it all community based?
It's all kid-based, children.
Kid-based.
Children and youth is our goal. Just anything that we can do to help kids and youth in our area and beyond. I don't know if you've been over to Ames lately, but there's a really cool park kind of on the way to up Duff Avenue towards, if you're going way north and you're going towards North Grand Mall, there's a really awesome park that Kiwanis. So that was a part of a bigger project that was a little local, but yeah, so anything kid centered, that's what we're about. So
Because this is what I'm learning about you is you're very kid minded.
yeah.
And if, I really want to get to like what people are passionate about, what makes them tick, what
Mhm.
drives them.
Mhm.
And you've thrown some feelers out there that it's kids. Your heart is for
Yeah.
raising strong, smart kids.
Yeah. So, as a high school kid, I babysat. I lived in the country and had a few farm families that I'd babysit for, and went to church camp. Was a counselor at church camp. Went to Iowa State and studied elementary education. Worked at the University Child Care Center, and a lot of those families were professors. So even when kids were sick at the University Child Care Center, we took sick kids. They didn't stay home because professors couldn't miss. So
Right.
I attribute some of my immune system to the days that I spent with sick kids.
Oh, right.
So yeah, and then I nannied for a family in North Carolina when I was a student at UNCW, and became a middle school teacher for a while. And yeah, I mean, do you want me to go on? A daycare?
I'm very curious.
Yeah.
I'm very curious.
Yeah.
You've jumped around because what was your very first job ever?
First job ever, I was a waitress at the Sail Barn Cafe in Mt Ayr, Iowa.
Okay, so where did you grow up? Where are you from?
Mount Ayr,
Mount
Iowa.
Ayr.
Yeah, about 2 hours south of here.
How'd you get here? Greene County,
Oh,
Jefferson,
I
Iowa.
love it. So kind of a long story short, but my older sister graduated from Iowa State, got her first job at People's Bank in Grand Junction.
Okay.
Okay. So I was a student still at Iowa State, and so I would come over and see her. And she had some friends that kind of took her under her wing, Bill and Janice Hamilton, and kind of became her parents away from home. Fate would have my sister leave Greene County and go back home to her high school sweetheart that reunited. And then that Bill and Janice Hamilton knew me from her. And Bill worked with my now husband, Alan, at Readers in Grand Junction.
Oh, wow.
So Bill and Janice invited us over for dinner one evening, and I did not know Alan was coming because I had no interest I just got out of a really raunchy relationship. It was not healthy at all. And I was just enjoying being single and in college.
Mm-hmm.
No desire at all to be in a relationship. And they knew that. So that's why they didn't tell me that we
They
were going to
s-
have dinner.
They set you up.
Oh, yeah. And we've been together ever since. So,
Like from that
yes.
dinner, you
Yeah.
knew something
Yeah.
was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Heck of a dinner.
Right. So, yeah, then fast forward, we met in well, actually, our first official date was Bell Tower.
Wow.
Yeah. Bell Tower. And that would have been in 2000, I think. Yeah.
There is magic at the
Yeah.
festival
Yeah,
still.
there is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So 2000 was our first official date. And then, yeah, we've been married 20 years this June. So,
That's amazing.
mhm. Yeah, so that's what brought me to Greene County. And I got a job, graduated Iowa State and got a job at East Greene District at
Yep.
that time.
Oh, yeah.
And taught 3 years. And Alan has actually never worked in Jefferson. But yeah, so we're transplants and we love it here.
Here to stay.
Yeah.
As far as you can see.
As far as we can see.
Right
yeah.
on.
Yeah. So
Why? Oh, so many questions. Why do you love it here? I mean, what is it? Greene County, Jefferson.
well,
This little place.
the amount of opportunities that we have here, there's not many towns our size that have all of that and more coming. I mean, I
Right.
just feel like there's so many great things and there's so many doers here. Um, when I was doing daycare, so I taught just for 3 years and didn't know anybody here. Not that I don't trust people, but I just really I didn't like, who would I trust with my children? I don't know anyone here. So stayed home and did daycare. And that can be a very isolating job because you can't just load up, get in your car. There'd be weeks that my vehicle didn't move, except on Saturdays to go to Fairway to buy 7-gallon of milk
Right.
that I would burn through that entire week.
Right.
So when Alan would get home from work, I would often just pass the girls off and I'd be on a committee somewhere. I would be seeing adults. I would be joining in the doing of the community because I needed adult interaction.
Right.
So
Right.
from that, yeah, I guess I just felt like if I am here, not, I feel like it was God's plan to put us here on this path. And I just really wanted to be a part of whatever it took to make Jefferson be a great place to raise a family. And yeah.
And you're okay pouring that energy into here versus Mount Ayr. Like not saying Mount Ayr, not like don't want to say anything bad
Yeah,
about Mount Ayr,
sure.
but like you're here, not there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is where we belong. And our kids, being a part of the school system now and, having a junior and a freshman in high school, we're not going anywhere. And for a while we thought about it. My husband commuted to Greenfield, which is an hour away. He did that for about 8 or 9 years. So there were times that we thought, oh, it would sure be easier to live closer to Greenfield. And that's where his family lives. So yeah, I don't know. It just became home.
I'm fascinated about stories like that. And especially when other Iowans end up here
Mm-hmm.
and that's not my story because I'm
Yeah.
born and raised local,
Mhm.
this small town kid, Jefferson, and went to Minneapolis and went to school and did the big city thing, and then somehow was not attracted to that,
Yeah.
even though there's so many things there. And you talk about opportunities in a small town. I mean, in a city, there's anything you can dream of. Be it here I am, But yet to call another town home, I've never done that.
Mhm.
Jefferson has always been home.
Yeah.
Which makes me think about you guy over there because you're a old Orange County born and raised, and yet here you are in Jefferson, Iowa, of all places.
Love it here. It's great. It's the heart.
Ditto. Yeah.
It's the heart of
Totally the heart.
What do you mean?
Well, the heart of the town, the heart of the people. You have a
Yeah.
whole different vibe.
Sure.
People care about each other. People
Authentic-
see each other.
Authenticity. Yeah.
Authenticity. Exactly.
I
Exactly.
think you told me a story one time about how like one of the first times you were here and there was people like asking you, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And you were like, what do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
why are you talking to me?
Well, they were
Because-
asking like, how are people treating you?
Mhm.
And it was like, whoa, and people, and I can tell too, people have, because it's smaller, people see each other, there's more accountability. So you want to be better. You want to stand up and be the best that you can be for your neighbors, and you actually treat your neighbors like Mr. Roger does. And I don't know, it's really something that if you lived in your whole life, you can or you could take for granted. For me, or for someone else that's been in a bigger town, or someone that's tasted a bigger town, there's no way you can take it for granted. It's just totally different experience. So yeah.
I'm fascinated
Yeah.
by that. Well, and then thank you
Yeah.
for pouring all your time and energy into this place called Jefferson, and thank you for making this your home,
Yeah.
because I think it's better that you're in it than if you weren't in it.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I can't take my parents were doers also back home. They helped in any way they could. So I feel like I kind of learned that.
So it's just in your blood, just
Kind of, yeah.
ingrained in your
Yeah.
DNA and on your soul.
That, and like I said, I needed adult interaction.
Right.
I'd been home for so many days and years alone. I was just like, I got to find something to do to just be a part of, just to make me feel alive, because it can get really draining,
Volunteerism was that was your segue into
Yeah.
adult. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was the first thing you got involved with?
The Greene County Early Learning Center.
Okay.
I was on the founding board.
Wow.
So I was a daycare provider, and I knew that there was a big enough need that it did not feel like competition, for my little own in-home daycare,
Mhm.
because I was constantly turning people away that needed quality childcare. And so, yeah, there was a group of, 6 or so of us that
Yeah.
started meeting and figuring out how that would look to create a daycare center from the ground up, and, become a 501c3, and hired the first director or two. And yeah, so that was probably my first taste of it. And yeah, that was really rewarding. And it's awesome to see the things that they're continuing to do and
Oh
growing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Like a huge facility
Yeah.
now.
brand new
Major
building.
upgrade.
Yeah. So
Just one of those pieces that you've got to have if you're going to continue to grow in a town like this.
right.
Right.
For sure. So
Which is why I'm on board with an indoor swimming pool too. It's
Yeah.
because it's just another piece to the puzzle and
yeah, for sure.
to have. But okay, so Greene County Early Learning Center, and then what?
Probably the next one would have been the Greene County Community Foundation. I was
Which is-
served on that for, I think, well, you can do three-year terms. So I did 9 consecutive years. I think 7 or 8 of which I was secretary. And then I got off for a few years, and I'm actually back on it now. So, yeah,
Well, and aren't you like the current president?
I
Yeah.
am. Yeah, I am. And that has, I'm still learning a lot. I really believe in the community foundation and the purpose and its goals of giving back to programs and projects, all of which are 501c3s, nonprofit, that they just need money, and they have really great ideas and really good things that are going to make our county better. They just might not have the finances. And so, yeah, we just got done with our grant cycle in February, and it was exciting. And yeah, we'll be giving all the money away in April. So
That's got to be fun
it is.
to give money away,
Yeah, I think we granted out just over $200,000. So
which is a percentage of what your entire endowment is, correct?
yeah, so how that works is we get, before we were a gaming county, before we had Wild Rose Casino, we got money from the Community Foundation of Greater Des Moines. And any county that doesn't have a casino could get funds from them. So because we now have a casino, that money comes from Grow Green County, because they have to give a certain percentage of their profits to lots of different neighboring counties and the schools and the cities, and our community foundation is one of those. So
It's like a significant percent too. Isn't it?
Yes.
Like it's not like 25% from the casino, but it's like 11 or 12.
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't even speak to that for sure. I'm not
Yeah.
exactly sure how much they give away, but we got 150,000 from them this year.
Sure.
And then our endowment, which is the 5% that we can get annually off of our endowment, was another 50,000 or so. So yeah,
Amazing.
yeah. So we just got to shell out a bunch of money to people who are continuing to do good things in Greene County. So
Right. which is going to continue to enrich the county, which
Yeah.
is going to mean more people and projects
Right.
can come and do things, and then it's a good cycle.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Sure.
I mean, in Rare, does everyone have a community counties around Iowa?
Oh, I don't think all counties do.
No.
I know some of our neighboring, Boone and Carroll, I think have them. And I know that there's several others, but no, not every county
Right.
has the community
Right.
foundation. So
Why do you do it?
why do I do the community foundation?
Yeah. Why do you spend all your time volunteering? Because you're not getting paid for this. You're not
Oh,
getting any of this money. You're giving money away.
well, that's a good question.
You've got
Um,
daughters and you've got sports and you got a lot
yeah,
going on.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I feel like somebody. I really feel like it's if you have an opportunity to serve, and it doesn't matter what way, um, whether it's in the community, whether it's at church, whether it's among your neighbors, your family, if you have an opportunity and the ability to serve, I think it's a privilege, but it's also a responsibility that I feel like is something that, I Green County was, I felt like welcomed us, and I feel like we were able to fit in and to find different opportunities and programs for our girls. And um, I don't know, I just feel like it feels right. It feels like the right thing to do to give back. And, um, I'm trying to be a role model for my kids. And so I don't know. I guess I never pondered why I do it. Good question.
Right.
If I come up with a better answer, I'll bring it back up later.
Yeah.
but-
You'll have to. I mean, that was a good answer too.
yeah.
That was a
Yeah.
good answer, which you were hinting at you're not a huge like movie watcher,
Right.
right? Which I'm like only half crushed in my soul that we can't bond on movies. But anyway,
I'm so
there's.
just-
Have you seen any of the Marvel movies? Like,
I'm trying to
Are you?
watch them. Yes. So my daughter and her boyfriend have been watching them, and they have said, "You really should watch these, Mom." And so I've watched a few of them,
Sure.
and we're doing them in order. Like we started with
Oh, yeah.
Was it Captain America? Okay, is that where it's like starts
Like
chronologically?
yes,
Yeah.
correct.
So we
He's
are.
the best, by the way.
Yeah, I would agree. So far, that's kind of where I'm at. So I do like Captain America. So yeah, I'm watching them. I haven't got through them all, but in most all of them, I've stayed awake for the entire thing.
Well, there you go. Well, okay, so I bring this up because there's a scene when Tony Stark is talking to Peter Parker and they know who each other's are and all
Yeah.
this sort of stuff. And then Peter Parker makes a comment about how like he has these abilities and so he feels like since he has them, he has to use them for good.
Yeah,
Right.
I remember that.
Yes.
Yes.
And he doesn't want to just use them to like be really good at football or
Yeah.
basketball.
Yeah.
Like and he doesn't want any recognition for it because he didn't have the abilities before
Right.
and he wasn't getting any recognition. And so now that he does, it's not like I'm not going to flaunt it right now. So it's just the same thing that you said, like because you have the ability to, you feel a call like should. Do you feel the word should? Do you feel like you
Mm,
should or you just
I feel like the word should makes it feel more like a negative.
yeah,
Like
totally.
I just feel like it's a responsibility, and it's I don't know, I enjoy doing it. So it does I don't feel like it's just I should. Like that feels like a negative connotation a little
Yeah.
bit, but I'm able, I am willing, and I feel like you can make time for the things that are important. Everybody's busy.
Yeah.
They're everyone's busy,
Yeah.
but you have to decide what things you're going to put your time into. And if you choose to um, put your time into something for your community, great. If you're pouring it into your kids, great. If you're pouring wherever you're pouring it, but I just feel like you need to, yeah, use your time wisely.
Put a stamp on it. At 20 minutes in, Karen Shannon dropped the hammer on how you should spend your time.
I just yeah, we all have the same amount of hours in the day,
Mhm.
and you know what? I don't. Yeah, we all juggle a lot. We all are, and the world is not slowing down. Um, So I think it becomes increasingly important for you to be cognizant of how you spend your time, who you're spending it with,
Mhm.
and making sure that you're not scrolling your life away.
Mm.
Ooh, that was good.
Do you feel, just throwing this in here, do you feel like you're investing
Oh,
in your community?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like being a transplant here, I really feel like if we're going to continue having transplants and drawing people in, we have to have it be a place that's worth coming. And it was worth a place coming for us and our family. So what better way to ensure that more people are going to come by
Yeah.
just doing your part? If everyone just does a little, you know, everyone just does a little.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
yeah.
Well, and what do you think about our population? Because in the recent years, the population of Jefferson and Greene County has gone down.
Mhm.
Used to be a county of 10,000 people. It used to be way more in the early 1900s, actually. But now it's like below 9. It's like below 8,500, actually, which there's a lot of theories as to why that is. Do you have any ideas? Or like, is a sign of a healthy community one that grows in population, or is that not
Mm.
necessarily the way that it's going to work?
So I often I don't always equate growth or positivity or something that's good with quantity. So I really first realized that when I was leading a small group at church. And you think you have to have all these numbers, you have to have kids, you need more kids, you need more and more and more. It's about the number, it's about how many you can reach. But what happens is when you have a smaller group, there becomes a more intimate connection that you have. I don't know that, I mean, I think a growing community is always, it's not usually a negative thing, especially if you have more people doing positive things in it. But I feel like if the people that are here are doing good and positive things, I feel like um, that can be enough for a while, and then as things change and grow, I don't know. I feel like I've been hearing a little bit about the Latino communities that they're trying to address and to bring in, and I feel like that could be a really good thing for us too. It's a unique way of growing a population. It's going to take education and a lot of growing pains maybe will be experienced through that. But I don't know. I feel like I've never felt that our town is getting smaller or lesser because of all the good things that are still been going on. You look at the
Yeah.
last 10 years, there's so much growth. There's so many things that are coming and have developed since then. But I just feel like it it doesn't feel like a negative
Yeah.
thing that we have fewer people right now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And it's not something you notice either.
No,
Like you go
no.
to Fairway or Hy-Vee on a Saturday, and it's like it doesn't feel like we're losing people. Like
Right.
it's busy.
And I mean, I'm a pretty like I feel like more people know me than I know them. Just because working in the school and
Mm-hmm.
church, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
like my name's out there or whatever. So, but I still go places, and I'm like, I don't know, I've never seen that person before. I mean, this is a pretty small town. I've never seen you before, and
Right.
so there's a lot of people I don't know,
Right.
and yeah, so I don't think of it as a dying population at all because there's just so many good things that are still going on here.
That's a good way to look at it because then you're beyond numbers on the paper too.
Right.
Because if all you analyzed was the numbers, you would think like, oh, this place is falling off the map. This place is dying, and it's clear that we're not.
Right.
No, so much good going on.
Well, just to add something to that, sometimes you have to clip, you have to prune
Mm-hmm.
in order for something to grow stronger, bigger, to produce more
Yeah.
fruit.
Good.
And you said you grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
I'm curious if there might be some kind of connection there.
Mm.
But yeah,
Yeah. That's true. Um, yeah, I could say that. I grew up on a farm that we raised hogs and cattle, and we had row crop. Spent a lot of time in the hayfield in the
Mm.
summer. Yeah, but as far as when you say pruning, it actually makes me think of the we had a grove of trees in the north side of our house and had apples and pear trees and cherries and we did. We'd always, we have to trim them back so they grow more the next year. But anyway, but yeah, that's true. Never thought of that before.
You talked about just here before we got on camera about you growing up on a farm, that you are the way you are because you grew up on a farm.
For sure.
I want to hear you talk a little bit more about that.
Well, I'm one of 3 girls. And of course, I think my dad deep down wishes he had a son.
A lot of hair.
Uh,
A lot of hair.
lot of hair.
Growing up with 2 sisters.
Yeah, I'm sure you know a lot
Yep.
about that. But we all worked as though we didn't work any different if we were a boy or girl. We helped with the hogs, and they were pretty labor intensive. We had about 100 head of sows, and from farrow to finish, anywhere, usually around 1,000 head of hogs we had. And it was not in a confinement. It was in open grass, and it was in open fields, and it was in, we had a building that was all open front. So they saw sunshine and they got water outside,
Yeah.
So it wasn't a hog confinement like there is today. It was the old fashioned hog farm. It was really labor intensive, and we worked really hard, and it was a family farm, where we all pitched in. We all had things that we had to do. There were times that we weaned pigs on Christmas Day. I remember actually there was just no downtime. There was no clock. There was no
Right.
calendar
Right.
at a farm. You just do the work when it needs to be done. So yeah, that was a big part of our, learned a lot of responsibility, a lot of life skills, a lot of just common sense. I feel like there was just things that were instilled to us that, you have to work hard, and it doesn't matter if the sun is up or not. Yeah, so it was a good experience. In the moment, there were times that I hated it. Like, that I would have to do chores, and everybody else would be like out doing whatever they wanted with their friends, and I lived in the country, and but I also wish my girls were on the farm. That's a dream of ours. But
Is the farm in the family still?
you
You take the girls up to the farm.
Yeah, my dad. So my parents divorced. That's another story. But they, when they divorced, my dad ended up with we had 3 farmsteads, I guess you would say. And he doesn't live in the house that we grew up in, but it was actually where my grandfather lived. He built a home there, and so yeah, but he got out of the hogs, and he just does cattle now and row crop. But so yeah, they get to go down, and they don't, we don't get down there as often as we should.
Right.
But yeah, still definitely a part of our lives. So
Do you have some chickens?
we did have chickens when my older sister and I, we'd have to go do chicken chores, and that one of us would be gathering the eggs, and the other one would have a broom beating the roosters off our backs.
Oh my.
And yeah, but we always had farm fresh eggs. It was awesome. But
Chickens are
they're
dirty and they're mean.
I know, they are mean.
Roosters are.
Yeah.
Did you butcher the chickens?
No, we didn't ever butcher
No.
chickens.
Sure.
No, just had laying hens. So
Because my wife, she has some farm stories like
Okay.
that, because they have alpaca, and alpaca fur is valuable because just learned this actually, there's no lanolin in it. So
oh,
alpaca fur is hypoallergenic versus like llama fur or some of the other stuff has some allergenic properties to it. So they would shear alpaca fur, and they still do. They still have it out there in the South Dakota farm. But then Bridget and 7 kids, they'd tell stories about them butchering chickens. To eat, because 7 kids. There's
Yeah.
there's a lot. Just 7 gallons of milk for
Right.
your daycare
Right.
kids that you blow in a week. That's like
Right.
chicken. A chicken is like dinner,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you got to clean it and pluck the feathers. And I wouldn't say it's a horror story for them, but it's like it was a process.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what you
Yeah.
went through on that.
Yeah. It's good.
What was the craziest thing that happened on the farm
Oh man.
besides beating roosters off each other's back with a broom?
Well,
That's-
my sister
that's a
and
new
I,
sport right
yeah, right. My sister and I were 3 years apart. My older sister and I, and we fought a lot.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah, we fought a lot.
Over what?
Oh, she was so mean, and I'm going to say that
Oh,
because I think she was mean.
I hope she listens.
I don't know.
I want to hear a comment
Yeah,
from her
right.
on this.
Yeah, she was mad about something. I don't remember what it was, but we were cleaning one of the hog sheds, and this hog shed probably had I don't know 20, 25 pigs in it, and they could come out where their feed was, and we had to scoop out all the manure
Oh,
from the pen. And we were out there. You're supposed to be scooping out the manure, and we'd gotten into a fight about something. I don't remember what it was. And I said, I'm going to the house to tell mom. So I was on my way to the house to tattle, and she yelled my name, and I turned around to look at her.
oh
And
no.
as I turned around, she had thrown a whole handful of manure and it landed right in my face. She had the best
No.
aim. And so I'm like, it was horrible. That was the worst. I can, it was like yesterday. It was so vivid in my mind.
Can
It
you
was,
taste it
oh
still?
yeah. Oh yeah. It was burned my eyes. It was in my nose. It was horrible. So then I really had a reason to go tell my mom.
And you did.
I did.
Yeah.
For sure. Oh, so that was probably the worst thing.
Did you
Yeah.
retaliate?
I didn't. I just ran away and cried. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my. So,
Yeah.
so you weren't one to get back at her for that. You were like,
No.
no.
No, I
Put
don't.
manure in your pillow tonight. You
Right.
better wait. You didn't. It wasn't like that.
No.
No.
No, not a get even type person, I guess. So
That just speaks more to your character,
yeah.
I suppose. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
What I mean, what else? I mean, is there anything else that sticks out in your mind?
You know, raking hay and picking up bales of hay, and it was, by the time I was doing it, it was big bales, so it was really just driving the tractor, getting a suntan is really what that was about.
There you
But
go. Yeah.
but no, it was good. We showed hogs at the county fair. That was great memories with friends. The hog buildings were full. I mean, like the Charlotte's Web story. It's like that's what it was like. We were all at the fair, and yeah, great memories at the Ringgold County Fair. So that was always
Ringgold
good.
County.
Yeah, yeah. I was a pork queen there.
Heyo.
Yeah, the Ringgold County pork queen. Yeah, that's one of my. When people say, "What are 3 things people don't know about you?" I was a pork queen.
Pork queen.
Yeah. So the pork producers, they
Wow.
would always have a high school student represent them. Yeah. So I mean, I just basically wore a leather sash and a crown around the fair, and went to a few meetings, and that was about it.
That's a heck of a title. Like it's an honor, but flattering is not the word that comes to mind. Like,
Right.
hey, meet Karen, our pork queen. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Crazy.
Yeah. That
Do
is
they
my
s-
only title.
They
The
still do that?
royalty.
Pork queen?
I think so.
Sweet.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they do.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I'm into it.
Yeah.
Well, so another thing you hinted at was that you wanted to talk about was growth and challenges and growing through them. And
Mhm.
because like, hey, you persevered through getting manure in your mouth.
Yeah.
You see kids all day because your
Yeah.
official title, as you told me, was a middle school counselor.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it's like you've had a taste of growing through stuff.
Yeah.
And so now you're trying to, would you say your passion or your mission is to try to help guide kids through some of these times? Or like how deep do you get in it with kids at
Well,
school?
there's a lot of things I wish I could say, but counseling 101 is you don't tell your own story. So when kids are coming in and they're in the midst of something that's negative, whether it's something traumatic at home, whether it's a friendship issue, I really try to get them to understand that, hard things are going to happen, and that's not going to go away. It doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. You're going to have things that are, they're not, it's adversity. And, something that I try to get, no matter what kiddo I'm talking about, no matter what the situation is that what can you learn from this? This seems very negative. This seems like a really bad situation. But what can you learn? And sometimes, I tell kids that when we go through things that are hard, especially when it includes another person or people, is that sometimes what we learn is how we don't want to be.
Mm.
So when you are in a situation with someone and they're not being nice, or, they're doing something that's it's hurting you, sometimes when we encounter people, what we are learning from that is how we don't want to live. and how we don't want to treat people. So even if that is, that's it, even if that's the only learning that can come out of it, is that how can you be a better person because of it? So, my probably my greatest year of challenge is when I lived in North Carolina. I did an exchange program through Iowa State. I went to school in Wilmington, North Carolina for a year. And a lot of bad things happened in my life that year. And, in retrospect, you can see how much growth can happen in the midst of negative. So yeah, I just try to help kids see that negative things are here to stay. Unfortunately, life isn't always
Right.
easy.
Right. You want to go into that year, or like what happened and how you came
Sure.
out on the other end?
Yeah. So, I moved out there. I chose North Carolina because of a boyfriend at the time.
Boys,
I
man.
know. I tell
Boys
ya.
be nasty. Boys be stay away from them.
Right. He was in the military, and we had known each other since high school, early on in high school. And anyway, he was stationed in Fort Bragg, and I moved out there. And in that short amount of time, I mentioned my parents divorced. They were married 27 years and divorced that year. Um, I should do this in order, actually. The first thing, my uncle Mark, who was actually kind of like a big brother to me. He lived with us. It's my dad's younger brother, and he passed away that October. That was crushing. 32 years old and
Wow.
died, and a few weeks after that, my grandfather passed away. A couple months after that, my parents divorced for 27 years. A month after that, I found out the boy that I had moved out there for was married.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it was tough. It was just slam after slam after slam. And it was not a good year to be away from home with all that negative things. And but there was a lot of great people God put in my path, and they're people that I'm still friends with. And I learned so much about myself and the things that the relationships that we have in our life, and just the value of them. And yeah, I just grew in independence was like just being able to do things on my own. I changed my own oil that year to, figuring out a new city on my own.
Right.
And so, yeah, it was a lot.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it went a little further. Yeah. But anyway, I met another guy while I was out there after that ended. And that ended up that was the bad relationship that ended before I met Alan.
Okay.
Remember this? Yeah. So that was really a negative experience also. And, but I just learned so much about what I wanted in a partner
Oh man.
and what I didn't want in a partner.
Back to what you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
such as what can you learn from this? This is what I don't want to be.
Yeah.
This is what I don't want.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't know
Yeah.
what you don't know until you can go through something like that and learn, okay, now I'm seeing the signs.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, was there any way, this is a great debate in my head, was there any way to avoid that situation? Like, you learned some things from it. Was there any way to learn what you learned before it all happened? Or just, when you think about your path and the years leading up to it, it's like, no, there wasn't any way.
No way.
Right.
So I do feel, I was telling Josh before we came on air that sometimes there's signs like, I think God tells us things that we sometimes can just ignore if we so choose.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd come back, my school year had come to an end. So like in May, June, I'd come back to Iowa, and the other gentleman that I had gotten and met, he had stayed in North Carolina. So without my parents knowing, I drove back to North Carolina after moving back home to Iowa. And I've had this pit in my stomach. I should not be going, but it seemed right because he was saying it was right. And I was somewhere around Tennessee, I don't know exactly where I was, like 3 a.m. And there's a billboard, State Farm billboard. I can still see it. There's no place like home. And I saw that billboard and I'm like, oh, I think I need to turn around. And like 30 seconds later, a semi blew its tire, put the tire underneath my car, and I was stranded on the side of the interstate.
Whoa.
Yeah. And guess what? I ignored it. I kept going. I figured out, I'm like, if that wasn't a sign, oh my gosh.
Sure.
You know, I didn't know it then. It didn't feel like a sign then, but I had more to learn, apparently. I had more to learn.
So there was an opportunity there.
Mhm.
You could have turned around, but like it was a call for you. Like, hey, I think we should go this way
Yeah.
instead.
Yeah.
But it's not like, I mean, you did anything wrong by
No.
going forward.
No.
You just learned it a little bit differently.
Yeah. And, this was my cell phone. I didn't have a charger. My cell phone,
Ah.
I didn't have a charger like for the car. So it only had so much battery life from the time I left. So the guy that I was, that was still in North Carolina is like, turn it on the first 5 minutes of every hour. So like from, 2 to 2:05, we would communicate, make sure that everything's going okay. And so, we had this well-laid plan, and I felt like I needed to complete that plan.
Sure.
And so yeah, like I said, there was a lot that I had to learn still, and I'm still learning. There's still things some wrong steps, and but yeah, I think sometimes we just have to learn from what went wrong.
Yeah.
What things we don't want to do again, what things we don't want to be a part of, what things we don't want to allow into our circle, into our relationships. So
That's one of my favorite analogies is one where there's a bunch of things that happen to this farmer and his son, and like he breaks a leg, which was bad until the local gang came and left him alone because he had a handicap. And so then like the moral of the story is like, was it good? Was it bad? We'll see. Like all things can kind of work out anyway.
Yeah.
Things just are. They just be,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we call things in the moment good or bad and we cast judgment, but yet you really don't know until time passes and you can look back on it and be like, well, this happened and then this happened, which ended up actually being legitimately good.
Right.
I have learned to be way less judgy recently just from that type of mindset.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like, oh man, yeah. Like this is a kind of a raw year or a couple of months for you. But yet I'm guessing that if I asked you, would you trade it? You would say no, because what you learned and what you came away from was way too valuable to let that pass by.
Yeah. As much as the growing up on a farm shaped me, and that was a lot of years, 18 years, I learned just as much in that 12 months that I was away from family, that I was in a new place, new relationships, new experiences, hardships. Yeah, it was a tough year, but it was a huge year of growth that I maybe didn't see in the moment as much. But yeah.
Well, you're also confirming my theory. And Bob Hamilton came on, Steve Fisher came on, Megan Carmen came on, and everyone had these like travel experiences in this time where they got away from home and they were a human and an adult and they went and did things and experienced things. And then they come away with stories and experiences that have helped them tremendously. And so here you are again with more.
Yeah.
Home is great.
It is.
There's no place like home, but you got to get out there every now and again, I think.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Wilmington, it's right on the beach. It's on the coast of North Carolina. And I spent a lot of time on the beach. And I was not always dry-eyed when I was there. It was a tough year. And I spent a lot of time out there. And I'd been able to take Alan out there, a few years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, but I'd never taken Olivia and Sadie. So we did a road trip this last summer. And if that wasn't, it was such an amazing and odd feeling to have them standing on the same beach, I was, that I went through all those hardships, and to have them standing beside me. And that was emotional. It was wonderful. And
Wow.
it was good. It was a really good thing to share with them.
You
And
kind of shared the full story.
yep. I
Wow.
felt like they were old enough to know,
Yeah.
and they know the whole story now. And I told them, as much as I don't want them to leave home, you have to, you have to do some things that are away from, that's part of the process, of growing. And as hard as it is for parents to
Oh,
let their little
right.
ones go,
Right.
And it was hard for my mom and dad also.
Mhm.
But what a gift that was.
Do you and the girls have plans? I mean, are there things that they're going to do from this trip and these stories now that it's like, okay, this girl's going to go here? Like, do they know how they're going to get away from home or?
Sadie hasn't, she's still freshman and hasn't talked so much about it. Olivia really wants to do some kind of exchange. She'd love to go to Italy or Greece, or she'd love to go far, far away. But so yeah, and that will be something that I can see her fulfilling. She really wants that.
Sure.
And I want that for her, as hard as it will be to have her far away. I know that God is a better parent and protector than I will ever be. So he'll be with her no matter what, no
Right
matter
on.
where they go.
Love it. Love it. I mean, and this just goes on the topic of the paths that you take and the timing when you think I'm in charge. Sometimes timing changes, and sometimes you realize I'm not really in charge of anything. No.
We think we are.
We think we are.
Yeah. No, I think, decisions, yes, we can make good decisions or bad decisions, for sure.
We're in charge of that.
Yep.
We're in charge of your own attitude.
Right.
We're in charge of the responsibility you choose to take on a moment-to-moment basis.
Absolutely.
But
when you get down to the nuts and bolts of the path and the other people that come across that path and the opportunities, it's, timing. If you want me to hear a quick story about timing, when I got done doing in my mind, I had it all figured out when I was ending daycare. Sadie was going into kindergarten, and I thought, I'm going to work part-time at church, and I'm going to be a substitute teacher. And then all of a sudden, I had it all figured out, and daycare was set at the last day. I was going to say goodbye to all my families, and not goodbye, but this is the end of daycare. And then I get a phone call from the school saying, we have an opening. Would you be interested? I'm like, oh, well, let me rethink this. And that's when I got into Jefferson. It was then Jefferson Scranton, taught first grade. And then there was a retired teacher, so I moved to second grade. And then another change in staff, and I went to third grade.
what years are these?
This would have been 2012.
Okay.
Yeah. That's when I went back to
2012.
teaching.
I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 2012, I would have been a junior.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then I was in third grade for a few years, and I knew I wanted to do something beyond the classroom. Didn't know for sure what. And then kind of had counseling, school counseling kind of just landed on my heart. And turns out the middle school was short a middle school counselor, and was approached by the school again. Would you be interested? And I was working on just starting my master's at that point. So took that. And so, yeah. And, while I was teaching third grade, I loved teaching math. It was my favorite thing in the world. And I had a lot of people come in. I was what they call a model teacher in the professional learning communities that we have within the school. And a lot of people come in and watch me teach math. And I felt like there was this need for the school to have support in math like they do reading. Because, there's always title reading teachers and all this extra support for reading. And I thought, man, as many teachers that are coming in here and watching me teach math, there's a great need for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to this school, some administrative, and it sounds like a really good idea, but just not in the budget. I don't think that'll work. And, fast forward, they end up creating that position after I'd already been in the counseling position. And then fast forward a little bit more, and the chain of events that happen, that position is open again.
Right.
And that's the timing is right now. So that's what will be my next chapter.
Crazy.
Hmm.
And this is like the thing that you really feel called
Yeah.
towards or pulled towards.
Yeah. So like when I talk math to the current math coach for the district, like I get excited. It's like like something happens inside of me that's just like, oh my gosh, yes, this will be so awesome. I just want to be able to help teachers and help kids and see those light bulbs again. That's
Yeah.
something that I do miss about the classroom. You don't see the light bulbs of, oh, I get it in the counseling world as much.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
On timing. Well, and then how can you coach me or someone on how to get that feeling, that confirming leap of joy in you when you think about a job or this task that you're about to do? Like, how do you get that?
I think it's a combination of the skills you were given. Not that I'm a math wizard by any way, shape, or form, but there's something about math that I love and teaching math. It's really the teaching of math that I love. So when you think about a gift that you were given or something that you're good at, and if you can figure out a way to have that be a part of your job that you're getting paid to do, that will interconnect passion
Sure.
with career.
Because you love math.
Yeah.
It fires you up.
Yeah.
Not anatomy,
Right.
not chemistry,
No.
but math.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you can take that and you
Mhm.
can combine your love with counseling and kids
Yeah.
and teach that.
Yeah.
Boom, there you go.
Yeah. And the thing, and I think that I think math feels like a kind of a black and white thing. And there's a lot of gray in counseling. There's a
Yeah,
lot of gray.
right.
So getting back to that black and white is refreshing.
Sure.
I was not burnt out on the whole counseling thing. I still love the job, and that's why it was a hard decision to make that change, because I really love what I do and I love the staff, and I know so many of the kids that walk the halls of that middle
Mhm.
school and their challenges and their struggles, and but at the same time I felt like, oh my gosh, this was what I talked about all those years ago, and the timing wasn't right then.
Sure.
So if I ignore this, is that okay, that can't feel right. It just didn't feel right to me to ignore that, despite being in the midst of something I was still enjoying. And
Right.
So is it that it's a factual answer? You can only get one answer. Is that what it is about math? I'm just
Mhm.
curious. What is
Yeah.
it about math?
I feel like I was, I really felt like, at least as a third grade or an elementary math teacher, I felt like I knew lots of ways to get kids to get it. So there's a lot of ways to get kids to understand something, to derive one answer, but there's lots of ways going about it. You can solve a problem in a lot of different ways, a lot of times. So I just really loved seeing kids who didn't get it one way, and I would show them a different way, and they would be like, "Oh, yeah, I get it." With reading, there's not a lot of ways to read. You just read, right?
Mhm.
There's phonetics, there's, comprehension, there's fluency, there's lots of parts of reading. But as far as letter sounds, there's not a lot of difference in, English is challenged, but as far as other languages are concerned. But yeah, I just felt like there was a lot of joy in me when I would see a kid get it that didn't get it before. Yeah.
It's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. So you found your passion in a way.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just what's next. I feel like I
Yeah.
don't know that I'll be there forever. And that's
Right.
because we don't ever know that. I don't know what opportunity will come next, or I don't know
Yeah.
what will happen and what will feel right. But I know I've got a lot to learn, and I'm willing to still do that. So, yeah.
So without ragging too hard on anyone, I want to know what pet peeves you have about people and what they say about kids.
When I hear people say, kids these days.
Kids these days.
Yeah. Like kids are just, they don't know how to work, or kids are not, they're so disrespectful, or, any negative thing that they say about kids in today's world. I just feel like there's a lot of, I would not want to be a kid today. I would not.
You wouldn't.
No,
No.
I would not. So the reason that bothers me when they say, "Oh, kids these days are just, our future's in, a bad place, that we're going to be in trouble." We're all born a blank slate. Now, I say that I know there's always, prenatal mothers can make decisions that would not make us all on the same, blank slate, but we are a product of our environment. We are a product of the other people that are in our environment. And when people say that, kids are just bad these days or whatever, I think there's somebody that's responsible for that. There's an adult in their life that led them there.
Right.
And so I think you have to look back a generation or two.
Right.
I feel like there's a lot in this right now. There's more grandparents raising kids today than there have been before.
Yeah.
So it bothers me when people say, when they have, negative things to say about kids, because they are what an adult allowed them to be.
Right.
Also, we're in the, really the first generation of kids who have been born with some kind of device in their hand.
Right.
We are living through the first group of kids that had been set in front of an iPad or a phone from the time they were an infant.
And we have no idea how that's going to infiltrate or affect this generation of people.
For sure.
Yeah. Could be good, could be bad, could be indifferent.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is that, so this particular pet peeve, is this something that motivates you to be such an active role in the community?
That's a good question. I don't know that there's a connection. I mean, it definitely, in my role as a counselor, I feel like definitely it has been a motivator to me. And I think part of that is that pet peeve has been developed since I've been in the counseling world, that I hear so many kids coming to me with problems that are beyond their control. They're because of something in their environment. And some of it's not the fault of anyone. Could be an accident or a death or a sickness. But sometimes it is within the control of an adult in their life. Right. So as far as it connecting to the ways I choose to spend my time, as far as the different hats that I wear in the volunteer world, I guess, I don't know. There could be some connection that I haven't really considered before, but yeah.
Something deep down in there that's contributing to what makes you tick.
For sure.
Well, it's just so fascinating what you bring up too, because like a kid, even there's a book out there by Bruce Lipton called The Biology of Belief. And it talks about how kids until they're like age 6 or 7 operate on a different wavelength than what an adult does. Like you have different types of brain waves and like what your brain goes into when you're asleep. I think it's called something like a theta brainwave. And this is normally where I'm like, Josh, look it up. Are you confirming for me?
100%. No, I know. Yeah, you're on point.
Right. Thank you. So then you don't leave that state until a certain age. And so like you're a sponge. A kid is literally a sponge. And all it can absorb is what's going on around it. And a kid is not necessarily in control of what is being created around them. An adult in the previous generation, and the previous generation, and the previous generation is responsible for creating this environment. So if you want to look at a kid and be like, wow, this generation is just, the fall is back, or what a depraved, what a ridiculous snowflake. Well, the current generation, we raised them. So if you're going to point your finger, you better recognize that you got a whole bunch pointing back towards you because it was us. It was you that could have done something, and this is where you're at.
Yeah.
Which brings me into another thought, is like a sin of omission is one where you could have done something, but you didn't, to change a scenario, you know? So you talk about how like there's an adult who may have done something that affected the environment or the growth of a kid. And then there's also like the lack of or a hole in what a kid needs to grow properly. That is just as big as if someone messing you up versus not having what you need to grow in the way that you should.
Absolutely.
So it's, kids,
Yeah.
we should give them everything they need.
Yeah, for sure.
It's for a kid to grow up with a full tool belt, to experience growth, and to have opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I'm on board with providing that.
Yeah. And, that the hard part for me, the separation of church and state is a challenge for me because I there's so many things that could happen at school that I wish I could just say, oh my goodness, if you knew there is a Bible story about this, there is scripture about this. There's so many things I could bring in and I can't. But
You need a podcast where you can just
yeah,
rip
right.
and
Maybe.
say the stories and then
Yeah.
let people find it.
But nothing is it's hard when I hear kids say, it's probably been a couple years ago the first time I heard that they'd never been inside a church before. I'm like, oh, wait, I was so oblivious to that there are kids that have never stepped foot in a church. I wasn't one of those kids. I've been in church my whole life. So, even as a kid before I could drive, I got pulled over going to church on a school permit, got in trouble. Oops. But, I've always been a church. It's been a part of my life. And to know that there's, a growing population of people that's not a part of their life.
Right. You told me that story too. And I think I asked you, so did you stop? Like you had your permit, you're going to church. And I was like, so what'd you do next time? Did you get someone to drive you? And you were like, no, I still drove, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, do what you got to do to get to church. If that's the place you need to be,
Yeah.
don't let anything get in your way.
I figured if I was going to have all the sins I could do and, driving illegal, I am not endorsing that, people that are listening to this, but it was a decision I made. So yeah, I got an escort. And,
There you go. Then he turned 16 and it's all fine.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. It was a really short amount of time, so I played some roulette there. But yeah.
You've got some stories, Karen. You've done some things. You're kind of blowing my mind here with the depth of what you've been through. And I would say you've got to be, I hesitate to use the word happy, but I never see you not happy. So happy seems to fit, but maybe it's not happy. So I was just exposed to this new idea too by a podcaster, and he says that we should not strive to live our life to be happy. We should strive to live our life in a way that provides meaning, because from meaning will come contentment and therefore happiness, which happiness and contentment are not the same thing.
Right.
But if all you do is strive to be happy, you're going to chase things and feelings that give you happiness for a moment, which is fleeting. Versus when you chase meaning, that's much more longer lasting.
That's good.
Right.
That's
So
good.
this is one of the big reasons why I feel pulled to you into what you're about, and that you had to be here, is because I feel like you have orchestrated a lot of meaning in your life, and therefore it has created value.
I can see that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Is that a good way to?
Yeah.
Is that okay to describe you like that?
I think that's true. I have been, flagged as happy-go-lucky my whole life. I do have. I'm probably more positive than. I tend to feel like I'm a more positive person than negative. But happy-go-lucky was something that I've heard my whole life. But you're right. Happiness it's pretty shallow if it doesn't have something underneath it driving it.
Right.
And, does it make me happy to see a daycare center succeeding? Absolutely. Was it always succeeding? No, we were in the red many years and we figured it out.
Yeah.
Does it make me happy to see that they're on the side of things, that things are positive and growing and they're going to have a beautiful building for sure? Is it make me happy, next month when we hand out those checks to all those organizations that are going to continue doing positive things in Greene County? Absolutely. Does it make me happy to see that there's kids at the middle school that I can help, try to direct in this really can be nasty life for a few years? Middle school's tough. It is not an easy thing to go through, and some kids skate through it more gracefully than others, but it's not easy for anyone. A lot of kids will be like, oh, elementary was so easy, or, high school was the best, so many good memories, or, oh, college was awesome. Nobody wants to go back to middle school.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah.
No one wants to go back to those
Yeah.
years.
I had braces all through middle school, so just for that fact alone, I'm probably like, nah, but
Right. So, yeah, so a lot of those things, for sure, they bring, it's more than just happy.
Yeah.
It's fulfilling and it's positive and it's a sign of good things to come.
through chasing meaning, you found happiness, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Happiness is a byproduct, not the raw deal.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'd say that's the way.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the way.
For
You're
sure.
looking for contentment, looking for peace, looking for passion,
Yeah.
look for meaning, look for the things that give you meaning.
Yeah. And a lot of times, most times, it's going to be outside of yourself.
Right?
You're not going to find every bit of happiness through just you. I feel like it has to include others and your community and faith. And you're not going to find it just within you.
Yeah, because if all you ever did was serve your own self, you're going to find yourself alone. And that doesn't feel good.
No.
I don't think. I mean, there's probably the rare person who's just like, yeah, I'm good without people. I'm fine. But
yeah. Not a happy way to be.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Damn.
I've got a whole bunch of check marks over here. Like we've hit almost everything that I thought we've got to talk about this.
Good.
Is there anything left on your mind? Like what's the thing that hasn't been said yet?
I guess we've covered a lot of ground. It feels like it's been kind of twisting and turning and not a super straight, narrow path that we covered.
Unfiltered, right?
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes.
Yeah. No, I feel like I can't think of any big rocks left unturned at this point, I guess. So
there's one thing that I wrote down about roles. And I think like because you've played a lot of different roles and mother, spouse are just some of the basic ones, but does that ring a bell in you? Is there a story to tell on the roles and the hats that you wear on a day-to-day basis?
A lot of them bring me joy. A lot of them are rewarding. I think that you're always continuing to develop in those roles. If you feel like you're done, like you've got that mastered, you're probably selling yourself a little short, or there's just always more to learn about things.
Right.
I'm learning as a parent how to navigate being a mom of 2 teenage girls, how to navigate letting them go here soon, learning how to still be a good wife or try to be a good wife after 20 years. It's never just a done deal. The roles that you play evolve, and I think you just keep learning and growing and making those roles be the best that you can with what you know then,
right.
until you know better.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's awesome. I usually end up saying this to people too, is like, you're going to have to come back.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple months, a year down the road, there's going to be new stories and new experiences. And I think you and Audrey, Principal High Note, if you will, would be great to have on both at the same time.
Yeah.
I think I would rock my world, let alone the podcast world right there.
Yeah.
So
That'd be awesome.
Josh, you got any thoughts rolling around over there, bro?
Great podcast.
Great podcast.
Yeah, great lessons.
Great lessons.
I took away a lot.
A couple newbies here too. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I would say we didn't do too bad.
Too bad.
Pretty good.
The producer has spoken, man. Bro, hit that outro button and we'll wrap it. There it is. Karen Shannon, episode 25. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip.
That's a good sign. I'm full. All I did was take notes the whole time.
I talk too much.
No,
Okay.
you talked the perfect amount.
Okay.
Brought content. You told stories. I love hearing your stories. I hope people find immense value with your stories. Thank you for your volunteerism. Thank you for being willing to go for greater, shoot for excellence. I'm going to follow your lead here, I think. You know, I like my volunteerism. I like things. I like being involved. I get a lot of value to it as well. So I guess I'm going to follow your lead.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Till next time. See ya.